old, sitting with my parents, brother, and sister, talking about where we wanted to be in 30 years. Strangely, we all fantasized about the same thing, owning a resort on a paradise island where we could spend time together and live in nature. We weren't wealthy and had no way to afford a resort, but we'd spent my childhood on the beaches of Papua New Guinea, and they had been very happy years. Compared with Hong Kong, well, there was no comparison. We all agreed it was a wonderful dream that Christmas Day, but that was all it was, and I went off to college to be an architect instead. I had made it to my 5th year in the 7-year program when I realized I still had decades to go before I would see the fruition of my training. I didn't want to wait until I was in my 60s to reap the rewards of my work. I thought about my dream of one day having a resort on a paradise island. I wanted that dream, but even in 30 years, I wouldn't realize it as an architect. I knew I needed a different and quicker path to success, so I decided to quit college to find it. It was a hard decision, especially because my father had wanted me to be an architect. On the day I made the decision, I phoned my father and said, "Dad, if I'm going to design buildings, it won't be as an architect. It'll be as the person who owns the property and has the money to hire the best architects." And I waited for his response. My dad was surprised and sounded disappointed, but in the end he said, "If that is what you have to do, go do it." I decided to start my own company with a friend, and we began a publishing business with almost no money and even less experience. That's how I ended up in my late 20s 5 years later, living in Singapore and running my little startup real estate property magazine. So much for making my life an instant success. I had dreams of wild financial success, but that dream's fulfillment still seemed to lie in a hazy, distant future. This is when I reached a critical moment. I was falling even deeper into debt. I was working very hard, but paying myself very little. I felt like I had no choice. When the company grew, I had to hire another person or pay for extra marketing to grow more. The way I saw it, once the business was successful, it would pay me more. I believed I had to put all the money I made back in the business. The consequences of this decision were about to become clear in a very public way. As I walked home one evening, lost in thought on the things I had to do tomorrow, I noticed a commotion in our street. Someone was shouting. Actually, it sounded like crying. The neighbors were out watching the drama. As I walked closer, I saw they were looking at the front of our house. The one crying was Renata, my wife. Our daughter, Kathleen, just a year old and looking very distressed, was in Renata's arms. She was pleading with a man standing in front of a truck, a tow truck, lifting our car up by its hook. I ran towards them. "You can't take our car, please!" I heard Renata beg. She looked around and saw me. "What's happening?" I asked, as if I didn't know. I had been late on the car payments again. Renata had reminded me, and I had promised I would make a payment, but I hadn't. There simply wasn't enough money in the bank. Even though I was keeping up appearances of being successful, in reality I was going into more debt each month, hoping it would all turn around one day. Now our money problems were out there for everyone to see, as the man prepared to tow our car away. "We can pay you tomorrow," I told the driver. He just shook his head and handed us a pink slip. "Sign here," he said. "Call the number on the receipt." I watched him drive off, and Renata walked back into the house, humiliated. One by one, the neighbors cast me glances of pity, and then went back into their homes, too. I was alone now. No money, no car, and no self-respect. Clearly, I had been in denial about my business, ignorant of just how much stress it was causing my wife, my young family, and me. Standing on that empty street, I made a decision to change my priorities once and for all. But how? It wasn't that I hadn't tried to change before. I had read books that talked about paying yourself first, but none of them explained to me how I could make the money to pay myself in a way that was easy and natural for me. I had read books on success, leadership, and wealth creation, but the more I read, the more confused I became. Each new book's advice seemed to contradict the advice in the book I had just finished. One book stressed the importance of climbing the corporate ladder, while the next said you can't get wealthy from a job, and I was better off with my own business. Some told me to follow my passion, while others told me to follow my purpose. Some urged me to be daring and take big, bold risks. Some advised me to be cautious and take small steps. Some said the key to wealth was trading shares and options, while others dismissed that entirely and recommended network marketing, online marketing, or property investment. Head spinning, I looked to business role models instead. That didn't work out any better. Richard Branson wrote that it is all about being the entrepreneur adventurer. But then Jack Welch proved you could reach the top working for others. Oprah Winfrey showed the power of shining from the front with the stars, while Mark Zuckerberg was happy to hack in the back in his hoodie. Warren Buffett and Bill Gates may make great bridge partners, but they have entirely different paths to success. Buffett invests in many businesses, but never in anything high-tech. Gates focused his life on growing just one high-tech business. Truth is, I had no idea what was right for me, and unable to find any clear direction, I ended up following the most common path, trial and error. That's how I ended up getting my car repossessed. That night, in desperation, I made a decision. Instead of being lost, with everyone giving me different advice, I was going to find my own path. That decision led me to find not only my path, but also an entire map of wealth creation. Fast forward a couple decades, and I'm writing this book, describing what I've learned since that night. I have been living here for the better part of a decade, to wealth creation. Did not come when I